amendment. But the amendment that I'm going to withdraw, Mr. Chairman, actually all four amendments that I initially filed, but only one which I'm asking to be considered, dealt with prescribed burns. And they were based on a bipartisan bill, Senate Bill 1100, which I introduced and then was co-sponsored by Senator Heitkamp from North Dakota. But I want to make it very clear that I am not opposed to the use of prescribed burns. Prescribed burns have been a very effective way, I think, if properly planned, and are a very necessary tool when it comes to grasslands management. But we've seen in South Dakota federal agencies initiate prescribed burns in the past 3 years that have burned out of control. One set by the Forest Service in northwestern South Dakota known as the Pottery Fire. The Pottery Fire, this is something that happened in 2013. It was intended to burn 100 acres, ended up burning 16,000 acres, destroyed millions of dollars of property, and never should have been set. You talk to any landowner in the area, they would have told you under those conditions it was a dry year, it was windy, that this was a huge mistake. But unfortunately, the Forest Service went forward with it, and as a result, 16,000 acres burned and a lot of property was lost. Incidentally, the Pottery Fire was supposed to be called the Pasture Fire, but as is typically the case in the bureaucracy here in Washington, D.C., it got misspelled and that name stuck. So it's the Pottery Fire. Nobody could figure out where the name pottery came from. It came from the word pasture. I just want to say that, you know, there ought to be some responsibility on behalf of the Forest Service for the loss of property, the millions of dollars. And the amendment that I withdrew would have created a way of compensating landowners when prescribed burns burn out of control and do a lot of damage to people's property. The CBO said it had a score, $10 to $50 million. They didn't know exactly how much. I proposed paying for that by reducing the amount of money used to acquire federal property. They said that didn't, it was mandatory, it was a mandatory, was not a mandatory offset, and therefore was not something that they would accept as a viable offset. So point simply being, we're not going to address the liability issue with my amendment. The amendment that I have submitted and asked for consideration and hopefully approval has to do with consultation. When the Forest Service decides to initiate a prescribed burn, it seems to me that it ought to make sense for them to consult with local officials. Local officials are going to know a little bit more about what the conditions are in the area, and had they done that both with respect to the Pottery Fire and another fire that occurred in the Black Hills near Wind Cave National Park, which we called the Coldbrook Fire. Similar type circumstances, fire was initiated. Circumstances would not have allowed for it if they had consulted with local officials, but they did not. So this amendment asks basically the Forest Service, when they initiate a prescribed burn, a tool which can be effective in certain circumstances and certainly one that we accept as a tool in the Forest Service toolbox, but that they consult with local officials. And so I would hope that both you, Mr. Chairman, the ranking member, and members on both sides would accept and support this amendment. I think it's a common sense amendment, and based upon the experience that we've had in South Dakota, certainly is one that I think ought to be added to this legislation.